Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Sarah with the Adventure Squad, and today I am bringing you a brand new game from Flatout Games, and that is Point Galaxy. Now, some of you may have heard of Point Salad. That is the sister game to Point Galaxy. I've heard that tons of people love that game as well. I personally have never played it, but we have gotten a few plays in of Point Galaxy, and it is a lot of fun. It has a fun space theme to it. You're building your own solar systems and trying to score points with different planets and moons and suns, and it's just a great theme. This game is for 1 to 5 players, ages 10 plus, and takes about 15 to 30 minutes to play. With that, let's jump on in and show you how to play Point Galaxy. Let's take a look at the components. We have our score pad here. We have rocket tokens, which are going to give us more scoring opportunities at the end of the game. We have double-sided player aids, and it includes a setup aid, which tells us how many cards we're going to be using based on each of the player counts. It also explains a little bit about the scoring for the end of the game and all of the different card types. So it tells a little bit about each of the card types, how they're placed, how they're scored, etc. There are 5 starting suns, and each player will randomly get dealt one of the starting suns. Lastly, we have our planet and space cards. On the front side of these cards are different planets, and these are going to be placed in sequential order within our solar systems. So they each have unique numbers. There's going to be some with the same number, so there's multiple 6s, multiple 1s, and so on. But we are going to be placing different planet cards in sequential order in each of our solar systems. This planet over here is actually Planet X. As you can see, there's an X up here in the corner instead of a number. So these Planet X's are placed within our solar systems, and they can be counted as any planet number. Now, Planet X's do not have a specific color like some of these other planets, but they can be played as any number within your solar system. Suns are played above solar systems, and these usually add a unique scoring condition to the solar system that it is placed in. So, for instance, this card, you would get 1 point for each green planet that you have in that solar system. Moons are placed within solar systems along with your planet cards, and you can see there's conditions on where they need to be played. So this purple moon card here would need to be played by a purple either above or below the moon card, and it'll be easier to understand once we get into playing the actual game and you can see how this works. But the moon cards always have some sort of condition that they need to be played by either 1 or 2 different colored planets. Wormholes are also placed within solar systems, and these reset planet number sequences. So if you play this into a solar system, it is going to reset your sequence that you are in your solar system. So in each solar system, you can only have 1 of each numbered planet. So I wouldn't be able to have 2 number 6 planets. It goes 1 through 7, and you can only have 1 of each number in each solar system. So these wormholes can be effective in getting more different numbers within your solar system if you skipped over a number in your sequence. Again, this will be easier to understand once we actually start playing the game. Lastly, asteroids are placed behind suns, and these are scored at the end of the game. So the player who has the most asteroids within their galaxy would get 10 points. Second most would get 6, and third would get 2 points. Other things to pay attention to on our planet cards are these rockets. We're going to be collecting these rocket symbols so we can obtain more of these rocket tokens and hopefully some more scoring options for the end of the game. We also have research icons here. So we have G, D, and there's different letters on different cards. So you can collect either the same letters or you can collect different letters. There are some scoring options on some of these rocket tokens and so on that you might need the same letters to get extra points, or you might need different letters, different researches to get more points at the end of the game. Now we'll take a look at setup. We're going to be using a number of these space planet cards based on the player count. And I've set up for a 2-player game, so we're going to be using 59 of these cards. You're just going to make 3 approximately equal piles. It doesn't have to be exact, but try to make them as even as possible. And you're just going to flip down 2 cards from each of those piles. That will leave us with a grid of 9 cards. We're going to have 6 planet cards and 3 of these space cards, so moons, suns, asteroids, and wormholes. For a 2-player game, we're going to be using 10 of these rocket tokens. So we're just going to place all of our rocket tokens face down like this, mix them up, and draw out 10 of these tokens. Then we put those tokens face up next to our board of cards here. That way they are all visible to all players. Next, each player is going to get dealt one of the starting suns, so each player has a starting sun within their play area. Lastly, each player gets a player aid. Now, one of the player aids has a first-person symbol on it, so what you're going to do is make sure you have that first-person card and get however many cards you need so that each player has a player aid. You're going to shuffle the player aids, deal them out, and whoever has the player aid with the first person marker on it, that will be the first player to start the game. On your turn, you will be drafting 2 cards from the space and planet cards to add to your galaxy. You can choose to take 2 planet cards, 2 space cards, or 1 of each. This player's starting sun card says that they get 2 points for every pair of blue and green planets that they have in this solar system. So they might want to take this blue planet card. Now, even though there's an opening in the market here, this does not get refilled until the end of the player's turn. Now, if we look at these different space cards up here, this moon card has to be placed next to a blue planet. So that might actually work really well for this player because they already have a blue planet. After you draw your 2 cards, you can choose to play them in any order. So if I had taken 2 planets, I could play this card first, or I could play this card first. Or if I had 2 planets, I would be able to start 2 different solar systems if I wanted. So I'd be able to play them just like that, and each of these columns would be a different solar system. But we have 1 planet, and then I picked this moon card here, so it's next to a blue planet, so that's going to give me 2 points at the end of the game. And also this blue planet has a 1 on it, and since I placed this moon card on top of that card, we're going to be moving downwards. So the next card would have to be a 2 or greater because we can only have 1 of the same number in a solar system. So I wouldn't be able to have another 1 within this solar system unless I had a wormhole. That resets the sequence of numbers in your solar system. After the player is finished with their turn, we reset the market here and fill in any spaces that we had, and it's the next player's turn. Now this player has a starting sun where they get 2 points if they have pairs of orange and pink within their solar system. So it might make sense for me to draw some of these orange cards. Now these 2 are orange, and this planet over here is orange and purple. So some of them actually have 2 different colors within the planet. So if I were to take this one here, it would count as orange or purple. So this player will take this one and the 3. Now, since I've played planets with the numbers 1 and 3 here, I would not be able to play a 2 in between here. Once you skip a number, you cannot go back and put it in between 2 cards. You have to play either above or below cards that you have already played. Just as an example, let's say I played this 3 planet here. If I wanted to, I could play a 2 on either side of this, but I don't have a 2. So then I picked the 1 since there was no 2 out there. So I can play the 1 either below it or above it. It doesn't really matter. It's just you have to keep going in this sequence. So if I play the 1 behind it, any other cards I play in this solar system is going to have to go over the 3. So let's say I took this 5 next turn, I could play the 5 on top of it. I wouldn't be able to play behind it because 5 is not less than 1. I would have to play it over the 3. Now let's say I had the 3 and then I played the 1 on top of it like that. The sequence would be going up this way. So I, again, would not be able to play a 2 in between these 2 cards. It either has to go above or below in the sequence. There's nothing less than 1, so we would be going up. So if I picked this 5 to play in my sequence, it would have to go below the 3, just like that. And if I did play that, then I would not be able to play a 4 in between those 2 cards. Any other cards I play in this solar system would have to be greater than 5. So let's keep going here. I'll just put this back. So these are what I'm going to play for this turn, and we're just going to fill in the spots that we took from here. And it's the next player's turn. Now for this player's turn, as we remember, we need blue and green planets for these extra sun points at the end of the game. And I do see there's a green 5 out here, and there's also this moon over here that needs green or purple. So I'm actually going to take this moon, and when you take one of these space cards, it actually reveals the next space card below it right away. So if the first card you take is a space card, it does reveal the next card, so you're able to see the card below that before you make your decision on what other card you want. So then next I'm going to take this green planet here, and I'm going to place this moon here and this 5 green on top of it. So I did go from 1 to 5, so I won't be able to play any 2s, 3s, or 4s in this sequence, because once you've played numbers in your sequence, you can't go back and insert cards in between those. They have to go either above or below. So the only other cards in this sequence that I could add to it are a 6 or 7. But I do have this green planet next to this moon that requires purple or green, so I will get those 3 moon points at the end of the game. I also have 1 blue and 1 green planet in this solar system, so I do get those 2 sun points. So far in this solar system I have 2 rockets, so I would need 3 more rockets from planets in order to get to 5, and every 5 points you get one of these rocket tokens. So again, these are going to give us extra scoring opportunities for the end of the game. So I can try to get 3 more rockets hopefully in the coming turns and get one of these rockets here. I also have a research icon on this planet, so I have Research C. So at the end of the game we actually get points for unique research icons that we have on our cards. Then we just refresh the market, and it's the next player's turn. Now as you can see, an asteroid card popped up. Those are always nice because whoever has the most asteroid cards at the end of the game is going to get 10 points. Second most gets 6 points. So it might be a good idea for this person to get the asteroid card. Asteroid cards get tucked behind suns, and you can only have 1 asteroid card per sun. So if you're trying to collect more asteroid cards, you're going to need to collect more suns as well. And I see that we have a 4 out here, so I'm just going to go ahead and take that for my second card. And it's just going to get tucked behind that 3 because we're going in basically descending order. So the 1 is going to be the last card in our system here, and we're just going to be going up from there. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, hopefully. Okay, then we replace this card, and it's the next player's turn. And I see we have a wormhole that's popped up here. That would actually be really nice because in this solar system I go from 1 to 5, and I can't play any 2, 3, or 4 in here. So that's kind of limiting how many cards I can have in this solar system. So I think I'm actually going to take this wormhole card here, and I can just place it in my solar system, and then I'll be able to restart my solar system sequence, and I would be able to play a 2, 3, 4 on top of this wormhole here, and then go up from there. Since currently there aren't any other blue planets out here, I'm going to go ahead and take this sun card. So then I can start another solar system and try to get some moons for some extra points. It doesn't really make sense for me to take this card right now just because there's no blue ones out there, as I said. The game ends after the final player has taken their 13th turn. The market will only have 7 cards left in it and will not be able to be refilled. Then we move to scoring. For final scoring, we're just going to go down our score pad here and score each of these categories. So each player is going to start by looking at their suns. They look at each of their sun cards and determine how many points they have in each solar system or each column under their suns. So we'll start with the first player over here. The sun, they get 2 points for each pair of blue and green planets that they have in this solar system. So we look at our blue and green planets. We have 1, 2 blue, and 2 green. So we would get 4 points for that sun. We get 2 points for each moon in this solar system, and we don't have any. In this one, we get 1 point for each pink planet. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we would get 5 points. And in this last one, we would get 4 points for every 3 researches that we have. So we have 3 researches and we would get 4 points. So first player has 13 points for their suns. Now we look at the second player and they get 2 points for each pair of pink and orange planets. So they have 2 pink and 2 orange because these planets with the slashes count as either or. So this could count as a green planet or a pink planet. So we have 2 pairs for 4 points. For the sun, we get 2 points for every 3 ships we have on our planet cards here, and we have 2, 4, 6, so that would give us 4 points. For the sun, we need 1 of each of the colored planets, which we did not get here, so no points for that one. And for this sun, we get 1 point for every purple planet, which is 2. So the second player has 10 points for their sun cards. Next, we're going to look at planets, and we get points based on the number of unique numbered planets in each system. So we take a look at each solar system that we have here. So if we start with this one, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 unique numbers, because these 2 repeated. So we have 4 unique numbers. And we can just go to our handy dandy player aids and we can see if we have 4, that is 5 points. In this one we have 2, which is 2 points, and we can just go through and score all of the rest of those. So player 1 had 19 points for their planets and player 2 had 25. It definitely helped in this row here having all those different numbers because those 6 different numbers gave us 9 points just for this column. Next, we look at our moon cards and see how many points we got from moons. Alright, so let's look at player 1's moons here. And we have this moon, which is touching a blue. It could be touching either above or below, so we get 2 points for that one. This moon here needed to be touching green and purple, which I actually didn't see. I thought this just had to be touching a green, so I thought I had it, but it actually needs to be touching green and purple, so I did not get those 3 points. That was one thing I noticed about this game, was that the purple is sometimes hard to see, at least for me. So sometimes this looks gray to me, so I thought that this just needed to be green up or down, kind of like this one, but I misread it, and it actually needs to be green or purple, and then it has to be on both sides, up and down, because there's a plus sign here. This blue one up here had a slash, so it can be either up or down. This one had to be green or purple on both sides, up and down, so I definitely did not get that one. Then we have this pink moon over here where it had to be either up or down, and it's actually touching both of these, so I got the 2 points there. Lastly, this moon over here had to be pink or blue on both sides, up and down, so I have a blue and a pink on both of those sides, so I get 3 points. So I completed this 3, 2, and 2. Over here on player 2's side, we have this purple moon here. It had to be either side, up or down, so we had a purple up here above it, so we would get those 2 points. And then this green moon over here, same thing. It had to have green either up or down, and I have one down here for 2 points. Next, we're going to be scoring our research icons here, and we can reference our handy-dandy player aid here again, and we look at our entire galaxy and find the number of unique research icons that we have. So those different letters, so research C, G, E, and so on. So we find how many different research icons we have, and that's how many points we would get. So player 1 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would give us 7 points. Player 2 has 1, 2, and that's it. So that gives them 2 points. Next, we look at our rocket ship tokens. So those tokens that we earned for every 5 rocket ships that we had on our cards. So player 1 had these 2 up here. So they get a point for every pair of pink planets that they have. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pink planets. So we would get 3 points for this rocket ship. And then for this one over here, this was just 4 points by itself. So 7 points for rockets for player 1. Now let's look at player 2's. Player 2 gets 1 point for each solar system with 4 or more planets in it. So 1, 2, 3, 4 or more. 4 or more here. So it looks like we have 3. So we would get 3 points. Next, we get 1 point for every asteroid card we have, and we have 3 asteroid cards. And we get 1 point for every sun card that we have, and we have 4 sun cards. Lastly, we look at the asteroid cards. Player 2 had 3 asteroid cards, and player 1 only had 1, so player 2 gets those 10 points. Player 1 would get 6. Then we just total up the points, and whoever has the most points wins. So for this game, player 2 won by 2 points. One last thing I just wanted to touch on again real quick are the sequences, because this is a little different than a lot of other games. So you can start your sequences with any number. So the numbers go from 1 to 7. It doesn't matter what number you start with. You can then decide which way you want to go, and you can play any number next to it. So this is a 3. If I wanted to, I could play a 1. It can go either on top of it, or you can tuck it back behind. It doesn't matter. That just indicates which way the numbers are going to go. I would not be able to play a 2 in between these 2 cards. Any other cards that you add have to be tucked behind or placed on top, but because 1 is the lowest you can go, in this sequence you would just be placing more cards on top. If, let's say, we ended up putting a 2 behind that 3, we could add a 1 back here if we wanted to. I could just tuck it behind like that. And then from here you would have to go up. So the numbers that go on top of the 3 would have to be bigger than 3. You wouldn't be able to go down again. So you wouldn't be able to go 3, 2, 1. Once you pick a direction, so if I lay down the 3, if I put a lower number behind it, lower numbers would have to go behind it, and bigger numbers would go on top of it going this way. And as you can see from some of my other solar systems, they can go in either direction. Just once you start going in a direction, so if I have this 4 here and I place the 3 on top of it, then the lower numbers are going to be placed on top and the bigger numbers will get tucked behind. This game also does include directions for solo mode, so you can play by yourself, and it tells you how to set it up because you'll be playing against an AI player. It does include solo mode achievements, so if you want different goals to try and test yourself and how well you can do with playing the solo game, that is definitely one thing that you can check out. And the last page just has clarifications for those rocket tokens. So if you can't remember what one of the rockets means, you can just look back in the rulebook for the clarifications page. If you just need a quick refresher on the setup or turn summary, you can reference back to the very back page of the rulebook for those things. So it just tells you how many cards you're going to need when you're setting up, and just a real quick summary of how the turns go throughout the game. Now, we have gotten a few plays of this game in already, so there's just a couple things that I've noticed so far that I'd like to touch on, and one of those I actually already mentioned just a minute ago, and that's about the coloring in the planets. I feel like sometimes I have a hard time telling the difference between the orange planets and the pink planets, and then also sometimes it's kind of hard to see the purple planets. I don't know if it's just the lighting in our house or maybe just me, but sometimes I really have to focus on the cards to make sure that I'm seeing the right color, whether it's orange or pink, and also making sure that I'm seeing the purple and that it just doesn't look gray to me. Another thing that I noticed was that there's tons of planet and space cards in this game. I believe there's 140, but in a 1 to 2 player game, you only use 59 of those. So you really only use a fraction of the cards if you're playing 1 to 2 players, and then you use more the more players you add to the game. So sometimes it feels like you can have more cards of one kind, like a lot of suns or a lot of moons, and then not very many cards of something else, like asteroids or wormholes. So when you're only playing with a few cards like that, sometimes it can feel a little unbalanced because you don't necessarily have a good mixture of the different planets or different things in the solar systems in those cards that you happen to pick to use for this game. And also, while I was showing the tutorial of how to play this game, when I got to the middle of the game, I got stuck with a whole bunch of 5s on the planets that I could choose from. So based on my solar systems that I had, my solar systems already had a lot of 5s in them. So I really got stuck in that middle section where it was just all 5s out there, and I kind of had to figure out how to get some of those 5s out of there to get different card numbers out there. Now, we've only played this game at the 2-player count, so if you add more players, if you have 3 or 4, it probably helps getting more of those cards filtered through because you have more of those cards in there and you're not getting stuck with the same planet numbers or just all of the same types of planets or things in your solar system like suns or moons or asteroids. There's a better mix of cards, I feel like, the more players you play with. I feel like this is definitely a unique game, especially with the sequences that you're making. I don't know that there's many games out there where you're creating sequences of numbers with your cards like that, where you can tuck cards behind or on top, go both directions, that kind of thing. So that stood out to me. It did make it a little more challenging. I have heard that this game is more challenging than Point Salad. So if you've played Point Salad and maybe you're looking for something a little more challenging or just something a little different, you would probably enjoy this game. Now, one thing I really appreciated about this game was the player aids. I thought the player aids were awesome. It included all of the information that it should, including the setup card numbers, because that's one thing that is different about this game is every player count, you're keeping a different set amount of numbers or putting a set amount of numbers back in the box. So having that right on the player aid is super nice, so you don't have to go searching in the rulebook for the setup instructions. It just says right there on the card. And then on the other side, it talks about each of the different things that you're going to be scoring, like the planets, the moons, the suns, all that stuff. So it just gives a very brief description of each of those things, how you can play them, where to play them, and then the scoring if there's any applicable things about the scoring on the card. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the Adventure Squad down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, get your game on.